Wow. Golden Boy promoter Bernard Hopkins says he wants to see the Charlo brothers, one of them, fight Oscar De La Hoya if he comes back. And he says he doesn't want to see Canelo Triple G 3, but recommends Quigley. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. You know what? Let's get it.
But there's also another fighter. There's also another fighter who a little more popular, and his name is Canelo Alvarez, and he has a long list of potential opponents. And we want to know
he's a lot more popular.
I want to know who's on the top of that list and why. Is it John Ryder, Jason Quigley, Willie Monroe Jr.? Who is it?
I think it's Quiggley, man. I think that, to me, I like that style. I like that fight. Plus, now I like that fight for now, going into 21. And I'm without giving up anything, we're going to get some news. And I believe strongly Canelo will be fighting in September. I don't believe Canelo being on the move as he been, or on the roll rather, and always chasing history. And I, again, I always thank him every social media I get, every conversation I get, because without him, my record wouldn't be preserved right now. It would be broken, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So my thing is, listen. Canelo wants to go, and I haven't heard this from him. I'm thinking from my experience, y'all. Canelo and his mindset, being a fighter, then on the roll. Now we got this, we got this unprecedented thing that happened that we couldn't control. Canelo gets in there in September before this year's out. He goes right into 21 already announcing, already momentum is pushing since we had this really long delay in boxing. That's considered long. We got 3 months or more. So let's look at it as a wash for this year. So let's go right into 21 with some kind of not sparring match, but something that can keep you honest. Something that.
Hold on. Bernard Hopkins says, let's go into 2021 with something that's not a sparring match, but something that can keep you honest. But he says Canelo's going to fight Quigley in September. Wouldn't that be considered a tune-up? So you basically want Canelo to do 2 tune-ups. Wow.
Keep you aware that you can't go right into 21 with some kind of not sparring match, but something that can keep you honest, something that can keep you aware that you can't go into 21 with an L or upset or something historically crazy that shouldn't have happened. That's always the risk when you playing, and I said playing, when you playing to move to the next chess move on the board, right?
That sounds like he's telling Canelo to cherry pick. You guys leave me a comment, but he says he wants to see Quigley in September because these are unprecedented times. And then he says after, come back early in 2021 to fight someone who's not a sparring match, but it sounds like an easy win. Wow.
Right? What are you sacrificing taking this? What are you doing taking this? I want you to sit out the next year and see how it is. Who want to take that chance? Because guess what? It's a chance we could be still right here. I'm not hoping it, but it's a reality right now, more than not. So,
questions to change the game in a sense where there are fighters out there that are saying, I want to wait until there's spectators in arenas. I don't want to fight. I don't want to pay cut and so on and so forth. But if Canelo does fight in September, I'm assuming that it would be in an arena without spectators because it's only in 2 months. If he does that, does he set the bar now to say this is the face of boxing and he's willing to fight in arenas without spectators? How can anybody else question that then and complain about it afterwards? And really quick, is Canelo right now, in your opinion, the greatest Mexican fighter of all time?
Not yet. Not yet. It's these 2 or 3, and maybe within the next year and a half, he'd definitely be in a conversation. But that title is vicious. I mean, Chavez Sr., I mean, you can fight was easier than the first fight wasn't easy because the first you got to get it. So
who's on that list? Who are the fighters that he needs to beat? Who are the 3 fighters?
That may not shoot at you. Give me 3 because I'm telling you the top ones up there. I ain't talking rematches. I'm not even take Triple G out of there. That'd be an easy fight. So I make it easy for you. Take Triple G out of there. That'd be an easy fight for him. Listen, it was the second fight was easier than the first fight wasn't easy because of the first fight. But the second fight was to me was Canelo has his number. The third fight, which I really don't want to see it. It'd be I got your phone number on the second fight, but I'm going to call you on the third one. It'd be Triple G trying it'd be Triple G getting the huge payday before he call it good night, good night, good night. So I don't think personally he should waste his time with that. Any 2 middleweight to 2-3 known middleweights, and they ain't necessarily got to be the top contenders, but those middleweights that's there is not a deep. Maybe somebody come up from junior middleweight that's big and strong and a couple of years younger. But there's still some like fights out there in the middleweight division. And that's why the fluctuating sometimes from 75 and down to 60 until that becomes somebody that, okay, this makes sense better than the 75 fights. There's still a couple of fights to seal that deal in the middleweight division and then maybe go up or whatever. But there's some fights in the middleweight division, man, and there's some names out there. And you pick 2 and I pick 2. Tell me who you think.
Charlo. Charlo is the first guy. Demetrius Andrade is the second. Those are my 2 picks.
Now, would you expect me to say somebody else different? No, I don't. So my thing is, I like the Charlo. Listen, I love the brothers. I talk to them.
What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang, notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the Super Chats channel donations, the Venmo donations, the Cash App, and the Patreon family. We working. Sign up for Patreon. Link in the description. Got some fun stuff coming. I'm doing the group sessions, and it helps the channel continue to grow. You can hit the join button to become a YouTube channel member. The perks are the same. Now, that was a lot. I'm going to try to give some reactions to what I just heard. Link in the description in case you want to listen to it in its entirety. That was Bernard Hopkins speaking with the DAZN crew, AK and Barack. And that sounded like crazy. So you also see DAZN wrote an article, which I'll link in the description. It says, who should Canelo Alvarez fight next? Bernard Hopkins is not fond of one opponent, but doesn't like the idea of Triple G trilogy. So that Bernard Hopkins, listen, I don't know what Golden Boy is doing with Canelo, like what their long-term plan is. I don't know if the rumors of Canelo and the friction has created like this gaping, new universe, but it doesn't sound like they're all on the same page. It sounds absolutely crazy. And you notice like Bernard Hopkins, in my opinion, had a lot of filler. He wouldn't just answer the questions. He says, who do you guys want to see Canelo fight? They responded Charlo almost like simultaneously. And AK also said Andre, which are great fights. And you have this long-winded, I know the Charlos, they're family men, and I talk to them and stuff. Those are great fights. People want to see them. The host of the show on DAZN where Canelo fights said those would be great fights. And you have this long-winded response. But some of the crazy stuff that Bhop was saying, it says the legendary former middleweight champion feels Canelo Alvarez should take on Jason Quigley for his 2020 debut in September, right? And later in this, he's saying that Canelo shouldn't fight Golovkin because he has his number. But if you ask fans, I thought Canelo lost the first fight, thought Triple G beat him. I was at that fight. The second fight, I do think Canelo won. but Triple G showed signs of life and he showed heart at the back half, and it made it close. He hurt Canelo in the second half of the fight. So I don't know what Bernard Hopkins is referring to in terms of saying like the first fight was easy and then he kind of took that back. Then he said the second fight, this showed that we have Canelo's number. But if you ask different people, depending on who you ask, it's not a unanimous thing for Canelo Triple G. Me personally, I had Canelo winning, but I have seen a lot of people, even respected fighters and trainers. Some people said, you know, Canelo could have showed more separation. I personally had Canelo winning though. But to keep referencing the pandemic and the times we're in from Golden Boy, this to me shows signs of distress. And Hopkins said, I quote, it's in this article, "I think Jason Quigley," Hopkins said during a recent appearance on the AK and Barack show, "to me, I like that style. I like that fight. Plus, I like that fight going into 2021. So no disrespect to Jason Quigley. You know, I don't get on here and try to disrespect a bunch of fighters and stuff. But for Bhop to say he likes that fight, but then totally dismiss the Golovkin 3 fight, that just sounds crazy to me. I've never heard. Then he says he wants Canelo to come back in 2021 at the beginning and take not a sparring match, but it sounds like another easy touch. And then he was asked about if Canelo is the top greatest Mexican fighter ever, and he says he isn't at this point. He has to do more, and he said in the next year and a half. But how is Canelo going to get to that and trump the Salvador Sanchez's, the Julio Cesar Chavez Sr., the Eric Morales, Marco Antonio Barrera, the Juan Manuel Marquez's, if he's fighting Jason Quigley, who just got knocked out last year by Toriano Johnson, and a tune-up / sparring earlier in the year, and you don't want him to fight Golovkin 3. I mean, to me, this sounds crazy. The other thing that I didn't quite understand is Hopkins was talking about Canelo bringing more guys up from 54, and he was talking about Canelo fighting at middleweight, but I was under the impression that since moving to 175, 160 would be too hard on Canelo's body, so he was going to campaign at 168, maybe 175, even though I knew 175 he probably wouldn't, because there's some killers up there like Dmitry Bivol and Artur Beterbiev. Wow, it just sounds all over the place. He said that would be an easy fight. Take Triple G out of it, that would be an easy fight for him. The second fight was, to me, Canelo had his number. A third fight, which I really don't want to see, would be I got your phone number on the second fight and I'm going to call you on the third one. It would be Triple G getting a huge payday before calling it good night. I don't think he should personally waste his time with that. You know, strange comments from Bhop to say, hey, don't waste your time with Triple G, who's a champion at 160, but I want to see you fight Jason Quigley in September. Now, to add more confusion to this whole Canelo, Team Canelo, Golden Boy conundrum, is Mike Tyson announced that he will be fighting in an 8-round exhibition against Roy Jones Jr. on the very day that Canelo was said to fight. So if what Bernard Hopkins is saying is true, and Canelo is going to fight on that date as intended, the quote unquote Mexican dates, because he's a fighter of Mexican descent, then I don't see how you're going to compete with the allure and the curiosity levels that people have. Look, it shows you right there. For Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. exhibition, no headgear, 12-ounce gloves. And then they also have former NBA basketballer, you know, Nate Robinson versus Jake Paul. So to me, I think Canelo's going to have to move off the date, me personally, especially if it's going to be Jason Quigley. And then the other thing is, like, man, Canelo's in tough. That's just what it is. I thought they offered Caleb Smith. See, does Canelo not want to fight Caleb Smith? Because Caleb Smith says he was lowballed previously, and so did Billy Joe Saunders. But then they continued negotiating with Billy Joe Saunders and then reached a deal before the pandemic. And then Caleb Smith said they never reached back out. So it might be a stylistic thing, and they don't want to fight or prefer to fight the Caleb Smith, because I thought the latest reports from certain members of media was that Caleb Smith wanted $6 million and he was offered $5 million. So what's the problem? You know, that's a difference of $1 million. So he's not going to take it in a pandemic for $1 million. So this all spells trouble, because Bernard Hopkins says, I think it's Jason Quigley. To me, I like that style. So I don't know. I don't know what it is. This just sounded all over the place. It could also be because there's no live gate generated. So they don't want to put Canelo in a difficult fight, no crowd. That's just a lot of pressure, maybe. You know what I'm saying? So it could be with the live gate, but wow. Canelo again might have to move off the quote unquote Mexican date. This is several times at this point. 2 Cinco de Mayos and also 2 Septembers. Cinco de Mayo 2018 failed a drug test with clenbuterol. He was off the date, and then the Triple G2 fight got postponed till September, so he couldn't fight Cinco de Mayo 2018. Then last year, he tried to fight Kovalev. Golden Boy and Team Canelo took too long, wouldn't pay Kovalev whatever him and Main Events wanted. Fight fell apart. They tried to squeeze in the Derevyanchenko negotiation, couldn't reach the price point for Derevyanchenko, and that fell apart. So Canelo had to get off the September date and wait for UFC when he finally did fight in November, fight Kovalev. So these are all bad looks. So that's 2 Septembers. Then this Cinco de Mayo, he was allegedly supposed to fight Billy Joe Saunders. They never officially announced it. It was just a rumor. And before they could officially announce it, pandemic struck, and then Billy Joe Saunders drops off after the pandemic, you know, when boxing starts coming back. And then now, if Mike Tyson and Roy Jones kicks Canelo off because he's fighting someone that no one wants to see him fight, like Jason Quigley, that'll be like 4 Mexican dates that Canelo has had to give up. Poor planning, poor execution, a lot of procrastination. It's just, this is like shocking how Canelo's being handled right now. And it's shocking that Bernard Hopkins I'm not even a big fan of Canelo versus Golovkin 3, because I think Golovkin in his last fight lost to Derevyanchenko, and he's showing definite signs of, being past the expiration date on the shelf life. So I'm not a huge fan of it, but then I'm also not a huge fan of Jason Quigley. So it's kind of consistent. And if I had to pick between the two, of course I would pick Canelo Triple G3 over Jason Quigley. So it's very shocking that Bernard Hopkins is suggesting Canelo, he doesn't like the Triple G3 fight at all, but somehow he likes Canelo fighting Jason Quigley and then coming back in 2021 to have a not sparring match, but something, it sounds like, close to it. Really weird stuff. I would like to hear Canelo's thoughts on this. And, Golden Boy keeps talking about a pandemic. We're all in that. We're all experiencing the same thing. It's fresh, it's real. It's going to require some adapting. But you see certain promoters and networks and certain people, it seems like a constant. They're constantly telling you what they can't do in boxing because of the pandemic. But then Showtime just had this monstrous schedule, and somehow Charlo versus Derevyanchenko got done with no crowd, and we know Derevyanchenko should be champion from the Triple G fight. That's a great fight. Somehow Charlo versus Rosario got done for Showtime, right? Somehow Gervonta Davis and Leo Santa Cruz got done for pay-per-view. But DAZN, they don't do pay-per-view, so that could be part of their problem. But it's just, the whole thing seems broken. And this is not even including PBC on Fox, whatever they plan on announcing, because there's a lot of guys like Adrian Broner, Errol Spence, Caleb Plant, Dominic Brazil, Andy Ruiz, Luis Ortiz, Danny Garcia. They still weren't placed on any of them Showtime fights. So in addition to Showtime having a monster schedule, 9 fights or whatever, they don't seem to be complaining. So that it's just kind of getting and sounding like a broken record from Golden Boy, talking about, hey, we don't have money for this, or fighters got to take a pay cut, and you got to get it done. Canelo's your biggest star. Where's Ryan Garcia too, his teammate? And this is just a bad look. And like I said, this was just a weird interview. Bernard Hopkins saying he doesn't like Triple G because Canelo has his number, but you like Jason Quigley. Canelo doesn't have his number. Canelo hasn't historically done well with that type of style, kind of like the Eastern European-ish European style. Really weird. New media. Let me know what you guys think. Sign up for ESPN Plus using my link. It does help the channel. Link in the description. Get ESPN Plus as a standalone. They got a UFC card coming up. You can get it as a standalone app. Bundle it if you would like to get ESPN Plus, Hulu, and Disney Plus. All three of those apps, one price, $12.99. Be interesting to see what they do next for Canelo. Let me know what you guys think, but it sounds like they want Canelo to cherry pick from the sounds of it from Bernard Hopkins. And I think they should have a team meeting to kind of all get on the same page, because it doesn't sound like De La Hoya. We're not hearing from Canelo, but Bernard Hopkins. It sounds like kind of a mess. Let me know what you guys think. Link in the description. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off.
So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxingego, the future of boxing.